I didn't think I'd ever talk about this out loud, but it's been weighing on me. Looking back, maybe I could have done things differently. But I honestly still don't know if I was truly in the wrong. My name is Eva, I'm 29, and I've been married to Mar, 38, for 3 years now. We met when I joined the marketing team at his tech company. And no, it wasn't some office fling. I had my degree, my own ambition, and I was actually good at what I did. Mar wasn't even my direct manager. We just happened to work on the same projects now and then. Mar is one of those people who's sharp to the point of being intimidating. He built his company from the ground up, and everyone at the office treats him like a genius. In the beginning, I was drawn to that. It felt validating being the woman he chose when he could have had anyone. But lately, things have shifted. He's become increasingly fixated on respect, especially mine. Like the other day, when I told him I'd just been promoted to head of the entire digital marketing division. I was thrilled, expecting him to celebrate with me. Instead, he seemed resentful. He mumbled something about how I never seemed to acknowledge his accomplishments anymore. And I couldn't help but think, what accomplishments? The company's running fine, sure, but nothing groundbreaking has happened in years. I'm the one hustling, navigating office politics, building a reputation. Yet he wants a standing ovation every time he makes a routine executive decision? Don't get me wrong, Mar is dependable, responsible, and in many ways, the opposite of my exes. But sometimes, I feel like he's stuck in an outdated mindset where a wife should be a constant cheerleader, clapping for every word he says. It's 2025, I've got my own dreams and career to chase. Just last week, over dinner with our friends Jack and Michelle, Mar started one of his usual stories about a new project he's been overseeing. I might have rolled my eyes. He tends to over-polish those speeches, making them sound rehearsed. So I teased him, said he probably practices them in front of the mirror. Everyone laughed. Well, everyone except him. Later that night, Mar told me I had embarrassed him, that I made him look small in front of our friends. He said I've changed, that I don't respect him like I used to. And maybe he's right. When we first met, I was fresh out of college and starry-eyed. Everything he did seemed brilliant back then. Now I see him as just a man. A smart man, yes, but not a legend. Not Elon Musk. Since that night, he's pulled back. He barely talks to me, doesn't open up like before. He used to tell me every detail of his day. Now, just a few dry sentences. And this morning, he left for work without even a goodbye kiss. That's never happened before. A part of me wonders if I should say sorry. But for what being real? Expressing an opinion? Am I supposed to tiptoe around his pride forever? If anything, I'm the one who should be upset. He's been making me feel guilty about my success, as if I've done something wrong by growing into my own. I tried bringing it up last night. He didn't argue. He just said he needed space. Space? What does that even mean? And now, I can't shake this feeling. He's been taking calls behind closed doors. Yesterday, I saw him having lunch with a woman I've never seen before. When I asked who she was, he brushed it off, said it was work-related. No details. No follow-up. That's not like him at all. Something's off. And for the first time, I'm starting to get scared. I've been trying to push this feeling aside, but it's getting harder to ignore. Something is shifting, and it doesn't feel good. Of course, I haven't told March. He'd probably twist it into another lecture about how I don't respect him enough. But deep down, I knew something was about to change. I just didn't expect how drastically. Yesterday started off like any other workday. I was prepping for a big presentation when Mar sent me a text out of nowhere, asking if we could have lunch. That alone was a surprise. We hadn't shared a real lunch in weeks. I suggested a new Thai place downtown, but he insisted we meet at home. I thought maybe this was his way of apologizing for being so distant lately. But when I walked through the door, there was no food. Just Mar at the kitchen table with a stack of papers in front of him and that strange, unreadable look on his face. I instantly knew something was wrong, but I wasn't ready for what came next. That woman I saw him with, she wasn't just a colleague. She was a business consultant. And apparently, Mar is stepping down as CEO. Just like that, he's leaving the company he built from the ground up. He told me he's transitioning into an advisory role while he figures out what he really wants to do with his life. I actually laughed out loud. I thought he was joking. The company's thriving, why would he just walk away? Because I didn't inflate his ego enough? I told him it was absurd, that this had to be some dramatic midlife crisis. But then his expression changed. That cold, emotionless calm that makes your skin crawl. He looked at me and said, "Eva, this is exactly why I'm doing this. You don't respect me. You haven't for a long time. Every win, every decision, every concern, I share it with you, and you either dismiss it or turn it into a joke. I'm tired of feeling small in my own marriage." I tried to reason with him. I told him he was blowing everything out of proportion. We built our lives around his success. Our house, our plans, our entire future was shaped by it. How could he just throw it all away because his feelings got hurt? But he was done listening. He calmly explained that he'd already spoken to the board and his transition was approved. I asked about our plans. The vacation home we'd dreamed of. The family we'd talked about starting. He just shook his head and said, "I won't raise children in a relationship that lacks mutual respect." That's when I broke down. I cried hard. I told him it wasn't fair, that I was being punished for being ambitious, for having a voice. But he said it wasn't about my success, it was about how I treated him. That I stopped seeing him as a partner and started seeing him as a rival. He brought up specific moments, like the time I closed the Anderson deal and didn't even look up from my phone when he congratulated me. Yet when I landed a big client, he went all out: dinner, celebration, even a photographer to capture the moment. "Because I wanted you to feel proud," he said. I wanted to argue. But in that moment, I couldn't. Because part of me knew he wasn't wrong. He's moved into the guest room. And this morning, I found him up at 5 a.m., making coffee and getting ready for a transition meeting. He looked peaceful. Happier than I've seen him in months. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how it all unraveled so quickly. The worst part? I called Michelle to vent. She paused before saying gently, "Eva, maybe Mar's not entirely wrong." She brought up things I'd forgotten, moments when I'd brushed him off or made him the punchline. That dinner party, for example. No one was actually laughing with me. They were uncomfortable. How had I missed that? Now I'm stuck in this strange limbo. My husband is walking away from the life we built, not because of an affair, not because of betrayal, but because he didn't feel seen. And as much as I hate to admit it, a small part of me thinks he might be right. Last night, I couldn't sleep. So I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I pulled out our old photo albums. There was one picture from 3 years ago, right after Mar and I got married. He had just closed a huge business deal. I remember that night now vividly. He was practically bouncing in his seat at dinner, so excited about the impact it would have on his company. And me? I was glued to my phone, checking emails, barely even acknowledging him. The more photos I looked at, the worse I felt. Image after image showed him by my side, at product launches, award ceremonies, always smiling, always proud. In one video from my promotion party, he's giving this heartfelt speech about my accomplishments. And there I am in the background, rolling my eyes. I thought he was being overly sentimental. I didn't realize it then, but that was the beginning of me slowly tuning him out. I tried talking to my mom about it. She just sighed and said, "Sweetheart, men need respect like women need love." I almost ended the call right there. It felt like a cliché pulled from a dusty book about 1950s marriages. But I couldn't get it out of my head. When was the last time I made Mar feel valued, truly respected, or even seen? After Mar's resignation went public, his company's stock dipped. I overheard him on hours-long calls with investors, assuring them, walking them through the transition plan. He sounded strong, clear, more grounded than I'd heard in months. When he finally hung up, I brought him a cup of coffee, something I used to do all the time. He looked up, surprised, and gave me a soft, tired smile. It broke me more than if he had yelled. I wanted to say something, apologize. But the only thing I managed was, "The board must be furious." He just shrugged. Some things matter more than the market. Then he turned back to his laptop. Michelle recommended couples therapy. But Mar said he wasn't ready. He wanted to work through things on his own first. Lately, he's been up early, going to the gym, reading self-help books. I even hear him laughing on the phone, probably with that consultant woman. And yes, it makes me jealous. Not because of her, but because I know I'm the one who drove him away. It's not the lost status or change in lifestyle that keeps me up at night. It's the realization that I had someone who believed in every part of me, celebrated my small victories, stood beside my wildest dreams, and I treated him like he was just background. I was so determined to prove I wasn't just the wife of a CEO that I forgot how to be a wife at all. Yesterday, I stumbled across a notebook in his home office. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. It wasn't filled with business strategies or charts. It was full of life goals. Things like learn to paint, visit Japan, volunteer at the youth center. At the bottom of one page, he had written in neat, quiet letters, find myself again. And that's when it hit me. This was never just about me. Maybe it never was. It's been 3 months now. I'm sitting in our old kitchen, trying to find the words. Mar moved out last week, not to some flashy penthouse or high-rise downtown. He found a small house near the youth center. He volunteers there now. It even has a garden. Mar, who never cared about plants, is growing tomatoes. Before he left, he didn't give me divorce papers like I feared. He left me a letter. Handwritten. In it, he told me he still loves me, but somewhere along the way, we both got lost. Him in his company. Me and my need to be enough. He hopes we'll both find our way back to ourselves. Maybe even to each other. I didn't cry when I read it. I think the tears ran out long ago. Instead, I dusted off my old journal, the one I hadn't opened in years. Flipping through my early entries, I barely recognized that version of me. That girl who was thrilled just to be in love. Who looked at Mar like he held the whole sky. When did I stop being her? I'm still climbing the career ladder. Still winning accounts. But something feels different now. Just last week, I closed a massive deal. Normally, I'd pop champagne and brag. But that evening, I just sat in my office alone, staring at the bottle my team left me, wondering, what exactly am I celebrating anymore? Meanwhile, Mar's company is thriving. His successor, John, is incredible. She's implementing changes Mar had envisioned for years, but never had time to act on. And Mar? He looks lighter, freer. Like a man who chose peace over pressure. Last week, I ran into him downtown at that Thai restaurant he never wanted to try before. He was laughing over lunch with teens from the youth center, teaching them business basics. His hair's longer now, his shirt untucked. And when he saw me, he smiled. Not the sad, distant one I'd gotten used to. A real smile. We grabbed coffee after. It was awkward at first, but then he started talking about a kid he was mentoring, and his whole face lit up. And for the first time in a long while, I just listened. No competing. No defensiveness. I told him honestly, I've been doing great at work, but I'm not sure any of it makes me feel whole. He shared that he's started therapy. Said he's unpacking a lot about childhood and self-worth. And suddenly, I saw the connection. I've been chasing validation from people who never doubted me, except myself. I don't know what the future holds for us. Mar says he still needs time. Strangely, so do I. I've started therapy too. And maybe those cheesy self-help quotes are true after all. You can't build a healthy relationship until you have one with yourself. Yesterday, I drove past his little house. He was in the garden, teaching teenagers how to plant tomatoes. I didn't stop. I just watched for a moment. And for the first time in a long time, I felt proud of him, not for what he built or earned, but for having the courage to walk away and find peace. I used to laugh when Mar said all he wanted was respect. But now I know, true respect isn't about clapping for someone's achievements. It's about seeing their soul and still choosing them. And maybe we both had to lose each other to finally find ourselves. And the truth is, I think I need space too. I've started therapy, something I never thought I'd actually commit to. My therapist told me, you can't build something strong with someone else if the foundation within yourself is cracked. It sounded like one of those overused quotes from a self-help blog. But the more I sit with it, the more it makes sense. Yesterday, I drove past Mar's new place. He was in the garden, yes, his garden, showing a group of teens how to plant tomatoes. I didn't pull over. I didn't wave. I just watched from a distance. And in that quiet moment, something unexpected stirred inside me. I was proud of him. Not because of what he used to be. Not for his title, or his net worth, or the empire he built. But because he had the courage to let it all go and chase something more meaningful. Something real. I used to think respect meant praising someone's accomplishments, applauding promotions, milestones, public victories. Now, I see it differently. Respect is seeing someone for who they are beneath it all, and choosing not to overlook them. It's quiet. It's personal. It's how you treat someone when no one's watching. I laughed once, mocked Mar when he said all he wanted was to be respected. And in doing that, I lost the one person who loved me without needing me to prove anything. But maybe, just maybe, we had to fall apart. So we could both finally grow into the people we were always meant to become. It's strange how silence can teach you the loudest truths. We both spent years building identities we thought would make us feel complete. Mar with his company, me with my career. But somewhere along the way, we stopped building us. We stopped listening, stopped seeing each other for who we were beyond our roles and titles. Now, everything looks different. Not worse. Just clearer. I don't know what the future holds for us. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other. Or maybe we were only meant to meet, to love, and to break. So we could finally face ourselves. But this much I know. Love without respect wilts in silence. Success without connection feels hollow. And two people can lose everything, even while having it all. So now, we start again. Separately. Healing, growing, becoming. Not as husband and wife. Not as CEO and rising star. But simply as Mar and Eva, two people who once loved each other deeply. And who are now learning to love themselves too.